Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're keeping yourself busy and having fun with beads. And that's what this channel is all about. And I'm so glad you're here because we're going to be making these gorgeous necklaces featuring check beads, agate beads, and sunstone beads as well. And the nice thing about these necklaces is that you can wear them together or separately. Not only that, a couple of them are a little on the dainty side. And I know many people like that trend. In addition to these necklaces, we're also going to make a matching pair of earrings. And we're going to use the beads that came in Didi's Deluxe Bead box for the month of May. Now if you didn't purchase that box, you can still make this project. I'll leave a list of all the materials down below in the description section of this video, along with a link to the website and a coupon code in case you're interested. And don't forget that I always model my jewelry at the end of my videos, so please stick around for that. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. And here we have Didi's Deluxe Bead box for the month of May 2024. The name of this box is Peach Fuzz, and it was named after Pantone's color of the year. And let me tell you guys, the colors in this box were absolutely amazing. I loved everything about this box. It was filled with tons of strands. We had lots of gemstones, a beautiful designer strand with check beads, sparkly crystals, different types of glass beads, 14 karat gold plated hematite discs, as well as an 18 karat gold plated zirconia toggle clasp, and many other beautiful items. It was very easy to find inspiration. But anyway, let's go over the materials that I selected for today's project. We're going to work on the longer necklace first, and here are the beads I'm going to be using. Let me go over them with you. I have some 14 karat gold plated hematite discs, and they measure 4 millimeters. And these are imitation check acrylic starburst coin beads, and they measure 15 millimeters. Here I have some sunstone tile beads, and they measure 10 millimeters. And here I have some crackle agate beads, and these measure 8 millimeters in size. And as you can see, they're blue and white in color. Now I did play around with these beads earlier on, so I kind of know what I'm doing. But basically, as always, I'm going to create some beaded components using wrap loops. Now you can do simple loops if you want to for this project. It's up to you. But the reason I chose wrap loops is because these beads are kind of small, and I'm going to be stacking them in sets of 3. Sometimes when you stack beads, it's better to do wrap loops. I just feel the wraps help to keep the beads together snugly, if that makes sense. So anyway, let me show you what I had in mind. I'm going to have 8 separate segments, and each one of the segments is going to have one of these beads. And I'm not sure how long the necklace will be, but it's going to be long enough to fit over my head, and I'm not going to need a clasp. That much I do know. So let me show you what I had in mind. This one's going to go in the middle of the segment, and then I'm going to place one of these tile beads on either side, like this. And then one of these crackle agate beads on either side. And then the hematite beads at the ends. And I'm going to stack them in sets of 3. So there'll be 3 here and 3 there. And that's basically it. And I'm going to repeat the same pattern after the hematite beads. So I have a crackle agate bead, then a tile bead, then one of these acrylic beads, and so on. Very, very simple. So now I'm going to show you how to mount these on wire and how to connect them. I have a piece of 22 gauge wire, and I'm using the 22 gauge because these beads are a little bit bigger. And for the other 2 necklaces, since the beads will be smaller, I'll use the 24 gauge. But anyway, let me show you how to do this. Using my round nose pliers, I'm going to grab the wire at about 1.25 inches down, something like that. Bend it. Switch to this part. Now, depending on how big you want your loops, you may want to slide it further up the barrel like this. But mine are going to be medium-sized loops, I would say. And now I'm going to grab this tail, wrap it around the nose of the pliers, flip the pliers around, continue to wrap to the back. So now I have a loop. Using these pliers, these are actually crimping pliers. I like using these because they have skinny tips and they grab really well. I'm going to grab that loop like that. Using these pliers, I'm going to grab the tail and do a couple of wraps. Now you can do more than 2 wraps if you want to. It's up to you. using my flush cutters, I'm going to snip off the excess. And now since I don't have very much to hold on to, I'm going to grab this loop with these pliers again. And with these pliers, I'm going to tuck that little tail in. You don't want anything sharp sticking out. So there's my loop. Let me go ahead and load these hematite beads. There they are. I'm going to grab the wire right above the beads like this. Line up the bottom loop. And you want to make sure there's going to be enough space there for 2 wraps or however many wraps you're making. And now let me bend the wire. Switch to this part. Wrap the tail around the nose. Flip the pliers around. Continue to wrap to the back. I'm going to grab this loop now. Snip off the excess wire. Grab that tail and do a couple of wraps. Let me make sure they're lined up. And now I'm going to cut off the excess wire. Tuck in the little end. So this is my first beaded component. So once again, I'm going to grab the wire about 1 1/4 inches down, or maybe 1 inch, it's up to you. Bend it, switch to this part, wrap the tail around the nose, flip the pliers around, continue to wrap to the back. I'm going to open up this loop, slide this beaded component into it, like that. Grab the loop with my skinny pliers. Grab the tail and do a couple of wraps. Let me cut off the excess. Tuck in that little end. Load the next bead. Like this. Grab the wire at the top of the bead, and I don't have that much left, but I can still do it. Bend it, switch to this part, wrap the tail around the nose, flip the pliers around, continue to wrap to the back. Grab the loop, grab that tail, and do my wraps. Let me make sure my loops are lined up. And now I'm going to cut off the excess. And tuck in that little end. So now I have 2 beads connected. And that's basically it, guys. That's how I'm going to do all of the beads. I'm just going to keep linking each one, just like I did there, until I create 8 segments. And like I said, I'm not going to be connecting a clasp because it should be long enough to fit over your head. And I don't want to do the whole thing on camera because it'll take too long and we have 3 necklaces to make. So I'm going to keep connecting the beads off camera and I'll be right back. As you can see, I've linked all my beaded components. And let me tell you, it took me a long time. I think it took me about 2 hours. But anyway, there's a total of 48 components. And the necklace measures 32 inches approximately. Now I left this one open because I'm going to connect it to the other end. But before I do, I want to talk about the orientation of the loops, because that's very important. You've probably heard me talk about it in my previous videos. Basically, one beaded component has to have loops that are horizontal or parallel to the mat. And then the following component logically has to have loops that are vertical or perpendicular to the mat. So for example, if this beaded component has loops that are horizontal or parallel to the mat, This one has to have loops that are vertical or perpendicular to the mat. If you don't connect them properly, the necklace may not sit flat on your chest. So that's something you need to check. And of course, with a long necklace like this one, it's a very tedious process. But I already did it ahead of time, and the loops on this one are going to connect properly to that one. Now say for example that they didn't connect properly, then you would have to change the loop orientation of the last loop. For example, this one would have to have one that's horizontal and one that's vertical. If you're a beginner, you may or may not understand that concept, but I know my advanced viewers know what I'm talking about. So let me show you. I'm going to start with this one here. This is the one that has the closed loop. And I'm simply going to check the orientation of each one of these beaded components. Say for example, this one's vertical, the next one's horizontal, vertical, horizontal, vertical. Notice how I'm flipping the components around, horizontal. Let me just go ahead and lay it down. We know this one's vertical. And that's basically how I'm going to check the entire necklace, guys. It's very, very tedious, but you have to do it this way. Horizontal, vertical, horizontal. So let me keep going. Okay, I finished checking my loops and I'm going to connect it like this. As you can see, these loops are horizontal or parallel to my mat, and this one's vertical. It's going to be a little bit tricky for me to open that loop because I have the tail facing this way and I'm not used to that. But let me go ahead and turn it. Open it up. Turn it back this way. And now I'm going to connect it to this component. Like this. Hopefully I've done it right. Let me grab the loop. Like this. And now I'm going to grab the tail and do my 2 wraps like I've been doing. Make sure my loops are lined up. Snip off the excess. And now let me tuck that little end in. And that's it. Everything's connected now. I think it's a very pretty necklace. I'm pretty happy with it. And I do want to model it for you, but I'll do that at the end once we create the other 2 necklaces and earrings as well. So now let me get the materials for the second necklace. Here are the materials for the second necklace. As you can see, I'm using the hematite beads again. Like I said before, they measure 4 millimeters across. And here I have some red tiger's eye beads. They're actually listed as matte sunstone red tiger's eye beads, and they measure 6 millimeters across. And here I have some crackle agate beads. They're the same color as the 8 millimeters that I used in the other necklace, but these are 6 millimeters in size. And here I have a ball head pin. I have this drop, it's a check bead, and I have a fire polished bead. It's also a check bead. And these 2 came in the designer strand. I think the drop measures about 17 millimeters in length, and I think the fire polished bead measures about 5 millimeters. I also have a 6 millimeter jump ring and the toggle clasp that came in the box. The toggle clasp is 18 karat gold plated, and it has zirconia stones on it, as you can see. I think it's really, really pretty. I really love this toggle clasp. And it's actually what inspired this necklace. It's going to be a lariat style necklace with a toggle clasp in the front. And for this necklace, I'm going to be doing some beaded components using wrap loops as well. So let me show you what I had in mind. This is basically what I had in mind. So I have a blue agate bead, 3 of these red tiger's eye beads, another agate bead, and another 3 beads, and so on and so forth. That's basically it, guys. Nothing difficult. Now to highlight these blue beads, what I want to do is put one of these hematite beads on each end. Like that. Same thing with this one. Because they're kind of like accent beads. And that's basically how I'm going to build the entire necklace. Let me go ahead and mount a couple of these beads on wire. Here's my wire. Once again, this one's 22 gauge. I'm going to grab it 1.25 inches down, like that. Bend it. Switch to this part. Wrap the tail around the nose. Flip the pliers around. Continue to wrap to the back. Grab the loop with my skinny pliers. Grab the tail and do a couple of wraps. Snip off the excess. Let me grab that loop again. Tuck in that little end. Load one of these hematite beads. And then the agate bead. And the other hematite bead. Just like that. Grab the wire right above the bead. Line up the bottom loop. Bend it. Switch to this part. Wrap the tail around the nose. Flip the pliers around. Continue to wrap to the back. Let me grab that loop. Cut off the excess. Grab the tail and finish with a couple of wraps. Make sure my loops are lined up. Snip off the excess. And tuck in that little tail, if you see one. So there's my first beaded component. I really like it. Let's go ahead and connect the next bead. Once again, using my round nose pliers, I'm going to grab the wire about 1 inch to 1.25 inches down, bend it, switch to this part, wrap the tail around the nose, flip the pliers around, continue to wrap to the back. Let me open up this loop now. Slide the beaded component into it. Like that. Grab the loop. Grab the tail and do a couple of wraps. Snip off the excess. Then you go ahead and grab the loop with the pliers again. It's so much easier to do it this way. And now I'm going to tuck in that little sharp end. Let me load the next bead. Like that. I really love these beads. They're so pretty. Look at that. I love the shimmer. Grab the wire at the top of the bead. Line up the bottom loop. Bend it. Switch to this part. Wrap the tail around the nose. Flip the pliers around. Continue to wrap to the back. Grab that loop. Grab the tail and do my wraps. Make sure my loops are lined up. Snip off the excess. And now let me go ahead and tuck in that sharp end. So now I have 2 beads connected, and that's how I'm going to do the entire necklace. I'm going to use up all of these beads. Now I have a total of 11 of these blue agate beads, but the strand's going to have 10 beads and the drop's going to have 1. So I'm going to keep connecting these beads until I use up the 10, starting and ending with a blue bead. And I'm going to do it off camera so this video isn't too long. And when I come back, I'll create the drop and connect the clasp. So I'll see you in a few moments. As you can see, I've created all my beaded components and connected them. And once again, just like the first necklace, this one did take me quite a while. Not as long as the first one, obviously, but it was very time consuming. But anyway, this necklace has a total of 33 beaded components, 9 blue ones and 24 of the red tiger's eye beads. And I did make an extra one here for the drop. It's exactly the same as these other ones. It has the 2 gold discs at each end, just like these. And here I have a flat head pin and 3 4mm jump rings that I'm going to use to connect everything. I'm going to use the 6mm on the ring portion of the toggle clasp. And I kind of feel bad about it because I'm going to connect it right on that ring where the zirconias are. But it should be okay, it shouldn't damage them. I'm going to go ahead and mount this bead first. I'm simply going to slide it onto my head pin like this. And now this 6mm bead, or 5mm bead, I should say, like that. And now I'm going to grab the pin right at the top of the bead, bend it, snip off the excess, leaving about 3/8 of an inch or so. And now using my round nose pliers, I'm going to grab the end so that it's flush with my barrels. And I'm simply going to create a loop. You want to make sure the loop is centered and closed right on the bead. Let me straighten it out a little bit. Just like that. And now I'm going to open it up. Slide this beaded component into it. Close it up. So there's my drop. And now let me open up this jump ring. Slide it onto the ring portion of the toggle clasp like this. And now I'm going to slide on the drop like this and close up my jump ring. So that part's done. And now let me open up one of these jump rings, if I can find where the cut is. That's actually a good sign. That means they're good quality jump rings when they have clean cuts like that. Let me go ahead and attach the bar portion of the clasp like this. And I'm going to slide in this beaded component and close up my jump ring. So there it is attached. Actually, I think I need to add another jump ring to this. I forgot about that. So let me just slide this out, close my jump ring back up. That's the reason I had 3 jump rings total. So let me open up this one now. Slide it in like this. And now the bar portion of the toggle clasp. And let me close it up. So there it is attached with 2 jump rings, and I'll explain why I put 2 jump rings there in just a few moments. Let me open up this one now. Slide this beaded component into it. And now the ring portion of the toggle clasp. And close it up. And my cat wants to say hello. He just jumped on my lap. He's been super clingy today for some reason. So anyway, let me show you why I attached the 2 jump rings. If you'll notice, if I hadn't put the 2 jump rings there, the distance between the bead and the clasp would have been too short compared to this side. So that's the reason why I did that. I hope that makes sense. So anyway, guys, I really like this necklace. I think it's adorable. I love the tiger's eye beads, and I love this beautiful toggle clasp and drop. I hope you like it as well. So now we're going to move on to the 3rd necklace, the shortest one. Let me get the materials for that. Here are the materials for the 3rd necklace. As you can see, I've already connected my beads, and I used the 24 gauge wire because these are smaller beads. They measure 4 millimeters in size. They're glass beads, and they're listed as 2-tone peach and gold with AB. And they actually have like a frosted finish. I absolutely love these beads. And here I have a check flower bead. It came in the designer strand. It measures 15 millimeters across. I have 2 hematite discs and a flat head pin as well. I'm going to use those to create a little pendant. So let me show you. I'm going to slide on this bead like this. And now this other disc, like that. Now this pin is very thick, so I'm not going to do a wrapped loop. I'm going to do a simple loop. So I'm going to grab the pin at the top like this, bend it, cut off the excess, and I'm actually going to make a pretty big loop. So it's going to be about, I would say, at 1/2 inch, something like that. So I'm going to use the fattest part of my pliers, make sure it's flush, and I'm going to create a loop. Just like that. So now I'm going to open it up, slide my strands into it, and close it back up. That was very, very easy, guys. It doesn't get any easier than that. So now we're going to attach the clasp, and I do want to add an extended chain. I usually do that with my short necklaces because sometimes I like to wear them longer. So here's an extended chain. It's just a piece of chain with big links, and it's in a copper finish. And here I have a crackle agate bead on a ball head pin. The ball head pin is gold because I thought it would pick up the gold from this pendant. So now I'm going to grab it at the top of the bead like this, bend it, switch my pliers around, wrap the tail around the nose, flip the pliers around, continue to wrap to the back, and now I'm going to open up this loop, slide my chain into it, like this, grab the loop, grab the tail, and do a couple of wraps. Cut off the excess. Let me tuck in that little end. So there's my extended chain. Here are 2 jump rings. They measure 5 millimeters in size. And here's a lobster clasp. Let me open up one of these jump rings. Slide the clasp into it, like this. Slide this beaded component into it, and close up the jump ring. So there's my clasp. Let me open up this one now. Slide the extended chain into it. And now I'm going to slide this end of the necklace into it as well. And close it up. So there's my finished choker necklace, which will coordinate with the other two necklaces beautifully. So now let me get the materials for the earrings. Here are the materials for the earrings. As you can see, I've already made one. Let me show you. It has a beaded bead and one of these check flower beads. I also added some hematite beads. I think it's adorable. So let me show you how to make it. I have 2 flat head pins there. I'm actually going to snip off the head of one of them. Let me go ahead and do that now. I wanted the metals on these 2 beaded components to match. I'm going to go ahead and bend it at about 3/8 of an inch down, something like that. Grab it with my round nose pliers. Make sure it's flush. Form a loop. Make sure my loop is closed and that is centered as well, like that. And now I'm going to load one of these hematite beads and the beaded bead, like this, and the other hematite bead. Let me grab the pin, line up the bottom loop, bend it, snip off the excess, leaving 3/8 of an inch or so. Grab the end and form a loop. So this part's done. And now let me go ahead and mount the flower bead. I'm going to load the hematite bead first, and then the flower bead. Let's see where the hole is. There it is. Hopefully it'll go through. Now this one isn't wanting to go through for some reason. Let me see if I can widen that hole. I'm going to use a bead reamer. Sometimes it happens, guys. And you have 2 choices. You can either use a bead reamer or find a different head pin. Let's see if it'll go through now. Now it's going through, so that's good. So now I'm going to grab the pin at the top of the bead, bend it, snip off the excess, leaving about 3/8 of an inch. Grab the end with my round nose pliers and form a loop. Let me open up my loop. Slide this beaded component into it. Close it up. And now I'm going to open up this loop. Slide the EOI hook into it. And my cat's visiting me right now. Let me close up my loop. He likes to hang out with me, especially when I'm making jewelry. Of course, it makes it really hard for me to focus because I can't see very well. But here's my beautiful pair of earrings to match the 3 necklaces. I really like them. I love the sparkle. I hope you like them as well. So now I would like to arrange the 3 necklaces and the earrings on my workspace so you can see how they coordinate, and I'll be right back. Well, here's the entire collection, and I know you can't see the bottom or the top, but I'm going to slide my mat up in a few moments, but I think you get the idea. Like I keep mentioning, I love these colors, and I love all the different shapes and sizes. And you could wear all 3 together for a layered look, which I'm going to show you in just a few moments, but you can also wear them individually. It's difficult to tell, but these 2 are actually a little on the dainty side because of the size of the beads. And of course, if you like bigger beads and longer necklaces, this is a nice option. Let me just slide my mat up so you can see the bottom. There's the bottom. Let me slide it back down. I'm not going to slide it all the way down because this necklace is way too long, but I think you get the idea. So anyway, guys, as always, I'd like to go ahead and model these necklaces for you. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Not gonna